the cloud. So, hey everyone, welcome to NHAT Connect's Tool Time webinar series. And we're really excited to have Justin Rodrigues from TextHelp here to give us a little glimpse into Equatio and accessible math tools as much as we can in 30 minutes. I am sure you'll want more. So I'm going to turn it right over to you, Justin, because I know you have a lot to cover today.
Just share my screen here real quick. All right, and actually, you know what? Let me go back. I'm gonna have to share my screen here and make sure that I include the sound because that's important for today's session. Okay. So can everyone see my screen here? You should see a Google Doc there. And if you don't see it.
Looks good, I can see it.
Awesome. So before I get started here, I just want to say thanks for taking the time to join today's presentation. My name is Justin Rodrigues. I work for TextHelp. Today, we're going to talk about Equatio, the Google Chrome extension. Sometimes I talk really fast. So I put together this resource document that will be shared in the Zoom chat. I'm going to share it with you guys right now. And so that's going to make a copy for you, and you can go ahead and edit it so that you can make it more customizable for the environments that you work within. But this doc will be the headquarters for all things Equatio. So the slides that I'm going to be walking you through in a couple of seconds here are also available right here on the Google Doc. So if there is something you want to try that you see today, feel free to download the Equatio extension from the Google Chrome Web Store and try out Equatio's features in real time. So I promised not to make this death by PowerPoint presentation here. So I just put together three or four slides to walk you or talk to you about Equatio, but then we're going to walk through all the different features on these slides here as well as an engaging overview. So you can try them out in your screen as well. So Equatio, just to tell you, is an accessibility tool in the equation editor. It makes all STEAM concepts accessible with its screenshot reader and gives its users multiple ways to create and consume math the way that best fits their preference. Here at TextHelp, we believe that Equatio makes STEAM fun in all environments for all learning styles. We are the math editor of choice for schools, and here's why. Equatio is a one-stop shop for the digital transformation of STEAM. It allows its users to demonstrate mastery and represent their work with its multiple input methods, promoting empowerment through choice and boosting active learning while making STEAM concepts accessible for all. So that's it right there. That's the Band-Aid. We ripped it off. Those are my 3 slides. I hope they were helpful in telling you a little bit of the story of Equatio, but really if you just to simple it a little bit, Equatio bridges the gap from traditional math and STEAM on pen and paper to the digital realm, regardless of the environment that you're working within. So today I'm going to show you how Equatio works here inside of a Google Slides, but I do also have a PDF open up as well, a Google Doc, as well as the Learning Management System Schoology. If at any time you want to see how Equatio works inside of Canvas or any other environment like Khan Academy or YouTube, for instance, for due diligence, I can transition and open up a new tab to help walk you through how it works in that environment. The first thing we're going to do is cover slide 4 here. So that is the Equatio Editor. Again, I mentioned I talk real fast. Sometimes I can move real fast. I just want to bring everybody's attention to the top right-hand corner, which is the Equatio Google Chrome extension. Once you download this from the Chrome Web Store, you're going to want to download that extension and pin it to your dashboard so that it's available no matter where you are within Google Chrome. Again, we're focusing today on the Google Chrome extension, but Equatio is available in platform agnostic for other environments as well as on-premise solutions. So With the equation editor, I just clicked on that Penrose triangle in the top right-hand corner, and the toolbar is going to pop up at the bottom of the screen. So no matter where you are, this is what you'll see at the bottom of the screen. You have a lovely amount of input methods here, an edit math button, an insert math button, which are arguably the two most important buttons here on the toolbar. This is how you get math into the equation editor and also how you insert math into the environment. Along with getting math into your equation editor, you can use the screenshot reader as well. So that's the first input method I'm going to talk to you about here. So that's going to make the math accessible. It's going to screenshot read that OCR. And
2x minus 3 equals 23.
So with Equatio and its screenshot reader, it was meant and created to identify math accurately and spit out the correct math terminology, regardless of where it lies on your device. So a better example may be with a text-to-speech reader is cosine or cosecant, and it identifies it as COS or sine as SIN or sin. Equatio will always identify those terminologies as they are read aloud accurately in the STEAM realm. So once I've identified this concept here and or sequence, I can play it back to hear it read aloud. I can click on the options module. I can copy as LaTeX, copy as MathML. So if you have any students that are using JAWS or NVDA, you can copy it as MathML. If that is a form of math that they prefer to use, they can use Equatio to get that math in MathML there as well. Last but not least, you can edit with Equatio. So this is going to bring that math right into my equation editor. So with this equation editor, I'm going to scroll up here. I'm going to walk you through the palette items before we start talking about all the different input methods. The first input method, which is the equation editor, has prediction baked into it. So what that means is that if I wanted to show my work here and add 3 on both sides, for instance, I'm actually going to change this here to plus, and I can do that by typing in PL for plus or just hitting shift and then equals and adding that in there. And the first thing I want to show you is how to subtract 3 on both sides. So I'm going to hit the minus button on my number pad there and hit 3. I'm getting from left to right here by hitting the space button. I'm going to just hit the minus button, which is next to the equal button on the backspace area. And then I'm going to add 3. Okay. So once I've shown my work here, I want to talk about some of the palette items here on the top. So this is insert text. So if you want to add instruction and create a question, so please solve the following equation. You want to insert text and type in what you're looking to instruct your students to do. This is because once you create that with Equatio, the screenshot reader will identify it as text and not as independent variables. So that is the insert text button there, along with the text color. Along with the insert text, you also have text color. So for this example, I like to change the minus symbols here to red to identify that there's subtraction. Of course, if you want to highlight the sum here and make it green, you can do whatever you'd like there as well. I'm going to go on to continue to solve this math problem before we start talking about the favorite button, which is a great tool for the automation process. But before we get there, I want to show you how you can show your work digitally using the More button. So with the More button, I can actually strike through certain areas of my creation. So I'm going to click on that strike through button there again, and it will strike out the whole thing there. I wanted to show you the 2 examples, striking out just one or striking out both sides just to automate that process. And how I did that again is by clicking on that More button. You can bold, italicize, underline if you don't want to put a division line, as well as quickly create a square root. But if I were to create a square root for this example, I'd probably just type in SQ using prediction and click on the square root option. I go back into the More palette options here. You have the symbols module. So again, preference is big, especially with all of our UDL solutions. If you want to type in divide and prediction or write out a division symbol using handwriting recognition, or you prefer to stick to traditional electronic math equation editors, you can click on the different symbols here to add what you'd like into your equation. And these are all accessible as well. So if I hover over these symbols, it'll tell me exactly what it is. And I can type them into the prediction tool there, and it will allow me to create that swiftly. You can adjust the layouts. You can create or find a way to access formulas faster using this formula sort button here. And then last but not least, you can also favorite certain sequences or formulas. So this will allow you to automate the process of bringing one Equatio equation from one environment into any environment seamlessly. Once a sequence and or equation is favorited, you can open up Equatio and you'll be able to access that sequence right here in the favorites button. How you would do that is real simple. You just click on the heart button here, add a label, and that will automatically be saved to your favorites portion here in the palette module. So I'm going to get to the next steps here and just real quickly walk you through. I'm going to solve this thing. And I'm not a math whiz, but it's going to be super easy for me to show you all the steps here just simply by typing and or writing out my next steps. So 2x equals 20. To create a fraction, I can hit the slash button next to shift, right? And that's going to create a traditional fraction digitally. However, it's a lot cleaner with Equatio and doesn't have the fraction next to it there. So that's one way that I can create a fraction. I'm going to divide 2 on each side here. You can also, instead of hitting the shift button, hit over or type in over, add a 2 there. So that's another way that you can create a fraction. However, there's one more way and it's a little bit more specific. So for instance, if I wanted to create 1/2 or a quarter, I can type in quarter and edit this fraction here. But that's not what I want to do for this particular example. Now that I've showed my work to its entirety, I'm not going to strike through for this instance. I'm just going to show my result that x equals 10. I'm going to highlight the bottom portion here, put my result here in green. I'm going to click on Insert Math, delete the previous equation, for example. And with me inserting math, I've uploaded my creation right into this Google slide. Okay. I just want to real quickly take a look at the chat. And back to business here. So thank you for participating there. If you've downloaded Equatio, I want to encourage you at this point of today's overview to try to stump the prediction tool here. I've already created an equation. I've already created an equation that doesn't exist. And the purpose of this was to favorite. So I can walk you through how to favorite it today. But if there is a specific equation that you'd like to see Equatio's prediction tool create, feel free to either unmute yourself or add it into the chat here. And I'm happy to walk you through how you can create it quickly in prediction. And if it's not in prediction, I can also show you how to automate the process of creating it in Equatio so that you have it saved for later. So I'm going to take a look at the chat here for about 10 more seconds just to see if any equations pop up. If not, no worries. I'll quickly walk you through some geometry equations that we have embedded. And I do encourage you to try to stump the Equatio's prediction engine here and coming up with some examples that you may think, oh, wow, I use this on a regular basis. How am I going to digitize this and make it clean? So with the prediction tool here, it's going to figure out how you're going to want to spell what you're looking to create. So for instance, if I want to create quadratic formula, so kind of like a prediction tool, it is using AI to develop your results here, but you do have to feed the prediction engine in order for it to populate some of its prompts. So with QA, for instance, I can scroll through all these different results But if I wanted to quickly create the quadratic formula, I can do that there. If I wanted to come up with the area of a circle or triangle, I just simply type in area, and all my options will pop up here at the bottom of the equation. So I'm going to insert math. If you wanted to come up with something like the fourth root, right? So when I type in fourth here, there's no examples for fourth root. And that's why I've actually embedded that into today's overview, just so you can see that I've already created it using Equatio. And if I want to, I can also favorite the sequence. So I'm going to get rid of 144 here and just add an X as a variable. Super helpful for sure. I'm going to favorite this sequence as the fourth root. I'm going to number it because it looks like I've done this example a couple of times before. I'm going to use the trash bin here to clear out my creation. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that more button there again. I'm already in the favorite section. I'm going to scroll all the way down, and that's where I'll find the fourth root. So when I click on that there, I can then insert the math. I can edit this example and make it so that it's exactly how I want to represent an equation or example that I'm working on today. So no worries. I'm glad that you let me know that you are a elementary teacher. If you feel left out right now, trust me, you won't towards the end of our overview here today. With handwriting recognition, you can stick to simple mathematics, but there are also base blocks, manipulatives, and many more STEAM objects that you can insert and add into any environment with Equatio. Okay, so but before we get to insert math space, so with manipulatives again, it's the insert math space button here. But right now we're going to talk about handwriting recognition. And it's 4x minus 10 equals 34. So I'm going to write that using my track or my mouse here. And let's take another look at that. 4x minus 10 equals 34. I'm going to write out 4x minus 10 equals 34. And my handwriting is absolutely terrible. Looks like it identified that 2 as my 3 as a 2. I can scribble that out there and fix it. I can also, at this point, let's say that I wanted to transition back. I can click prediction. I can click speech input and add anything to my creation there that I may have missed. So if I want to go ahead and solve this math problem here, kind of like I did using prediction, I can add 10 on this side. I can add 10 on this side. Can bring 4x down. And if I have a touch screen, I can also use the touch screen here as well. Okay. So I'm going to insert, or I'm going to transition here to Equatio in prediction. Wowza. So that ended up working a little bit crazy here. So I'm just going to get rid of some of this stuff and go ahead and put in my results. So it looks like it doubled everything up, and that's not a good sign. So let's just start from the top here. And I do apologize for the handwriting recognition tool there not cooperating, but I also didn't leave enough space there. So let me try again. And I promise that I'll get it right in this instance here. Oops. There you go. 34. Add 10. Add 10. 4x equals 44. Divide 4. Oops. Okay, so that took me a little longer than I wanted it to, but I can add that right into Google Slides there. And if you're looking for more room, you can always hit insert math space as I mentioned, and use the handwriting recognition tool. So if you prefer to have your students, if they're using iPads, for instance, they can use Equatio Math Space here, open it up, use the handwriting recognition tool, or they could use the free hand drawing tool. And for the most part, do the same thing. So if I want to do long division here, right, or do that same example, I can do that using this math space. So it's going to give me more space. I'm going to insert my creation into the slides, and I'll come back to insert math space, but I just wanted to show you another way that you can get more space using Equatio while also sticking to some of your preferences. The next feature I want to show you guys is speech input, which is super cool. Definitely was my favorite feature when we first started with Equatio here. I'm gonna turn on the microphone, and it's gonna pick up everything I'm saying here to the left. It's gonna create only math terminology on the right. So you can already see that it's added two numbers. I'm gonna close this out and say 3x minus 2 squared plus sine 45 degrees. I'm going to pause the speech input there. Go into the editor. Let me just make sure it was 3x. That's correct. Now all I have to do is hit insert math. It's going to throw that right into the equation editor for me. Excuse me, into the Google slide there. Okay. So that is speech input and how that works. Again, if speech input or handwriting recognition is not your preference, you prefer to use prediction at this point to square or cube something, you can easily do that using the prediction tool. It's all about preferences and using whatever input method is going to help you solve the math problem in the way that you prefer. So it looks like we have about 7 minutes here. I'm probably going to go over a little bit. If we don't cover Desmos, just if you are familiar with Desmos and you are using graphing, do have Desmos available. So if I want, prediction is embedded in there, as well as all of Desmos' great accessibility features. So for instance, if I hit Alt-T here to trace the graph, I can trace this sine of x graph in here, how it's graphed and how it changes its pitch as it goes over each interval, or excuse me, quadrant plane there. I can also insert those great graphs that I create with Desmos into any environment there. But let's talk about Equatio Mobile before we continue our conversation or start talking about the Desmos graph there. With Equatio Mobile, it's not something that you're going to find in your App Store or your Google Play Store. If you want to access Equatio Mobile, you can click on this link. It'll open up on your device. You can use your camera here, so you can take a picture of math just like this if you prefer. But that's not going to work for today's overview, as you see it disappear there. If you don't want to use the camera here on your device, you can also QR scan. So if you've been to a restaurant lately that does not have paper menus, you can QR scan that code. It's going to prompt you to sign into your Equatio or sign into any authentication process. So Microsoft, Google, whatever it may be, and you'll automatically see active documents. So this is going to be a little tough to see on your screen here, but I'm going to do my best. Active documents is at the very top. When I click on that, it's going to recognize anywhere on my device that I have Equatio or I've been using Equatio. And once I'm in active documents, I can click on your school's Equatio demo slides, which is what we're in here today. On the Equatio mobile app, it's going to give me 3 options at the bottom of my screen here. So from left to right, you have handwriting recognition, and speech input. If your device does not have a touch screen or a microphone, you can use your mobile device. And then last but not least, you can use the camera. So there is a camera associated with Equatio Mobile. It's not like photo math, so it's not going to solve the math here. It's just going to help me get my math in traditional pen and paper from this piece of paper into the environment of choice. Okay, so I'm going to click on the check mark. I'm going to save it as an image first, so you can see what it looks like, because you can't see it on my camera here. So in a few seconds here, you're going to see my example. Okay, so that's with neat handwriting. I do encourage you to try it with students that may not have as neat handwriting. It will identify whatever you create. And the good news is, if it does not identify it, you can always, I'm going to show you another option here. So adding it as an image is one. Along with that, you can also save as math. So that's the other option. It automatically digitizes and convert this traditional math so that I can upload it into this Google slide here. And once it's already digitized, so that seamlessly translated it from written math to digital math. And now I can hit edit math. And if anything was incorrect, I can always go in here and make edits. So that also goes for if you're looking to create new examples for your students to help them get engaged. You can easily take a picture of that example from a textbook or from another environment, manipulate it so that it's your own, and then you can upload it into that environment that you and your students are working within. So PDFs, learning management systems, and all applications. Okay. Again, and you can also, Equatio Mobile is definitely one of my top features here for sure. Don't forget about the add to favorites, because you can always favorite these sequences and automate that process of getting math from one space to another. Okay, so that is Equatio Mobile. The last feature I want to show you guys all today here is the insert math space button. So I showed you this a couple of seconds ago. It is the cube here with Equatio embedded with inside of it. When I hit the insert math space button, it's going to open up a canvas for me. This canvas gives me the flexibility to do whatever I want, just with more space. Inside of math space, you can create your own math spaces and share them with your students and have them respond to your math spaces and quickly grade them using math space. And how you would get there is by hitting try Equatio math space. But before we do that, I'm going to show you how to insert whatever creation, base blocks, manipulatives, Venn diagrams right here from math space into that Google slide. So two important things to take a look at here when using math space is the ownership of that math space. So this tells me that it is attached to that Google slide, your school's Equatio demo. Okay, and to the right of that is an insert button. You have all of Equatio's features here, as well as the ability to change the background, Equatio Academy, help and support, send feedback, download as a PNG, as a PDF. All the different features, the handwriting and the freehand drawing tool, as well as some shapes and smart shapes. So since we have some elementary folks in the call, I'm going to talk about the smart shapes first, because you can represent fractions, for instance. Using these smart shapes and segments, you can quickly increase the amount of shapes. So if we're talking about pizza, we can get 8 slices there. If you want to represent 1/4 or 3/4, excuse me, or 1/2, you can quickly get rid of those segments to either create an example for your students to work with and or have your students create the smart shapes and represent a fraction using that smart shape as well. So you can quickly adjust and label these features. And the really great thing about MathSpace is everything is accessible automatically. So you can always click on the play
Reddish
button
pink fraction circle with black border.
and it's always going to tell you what it is. If you prefer to change that label, you can always change it here in the label section. So that's this, the fraction circles. You also have a fraction bar. The same use case here for the most part, right? So I adjusted the number of shaded segments there first, but let's make it 4 segments. So we can cover 3/4, 1/2, 1/4, so on and so forth, using those smart shapes there. You have coordinate planes, protractors, grids, number lines, polygons. So if you're practicing shapes, you can adjust the number of sides, as well as the label always recognizes how many sides and what that shape is exactly. Okay, so those are our smart shapes there. We also have a clock, if that's something that's going to help you in your everyday responsibilities. Along with these smart shapes, and I'm just going to keep the fraction circle there. I'm also going to show you how to leverage some shapes. So when I click on that hexagon there, a circle, square, triangle, right triangle, excuse me, parallelogram, trapezoid, star, line, and then also the ability to make multiple lines or a path tool are the first symbols that you have available. When you click on more shapes, you have an inventory of all things STEAM. And if you come up with more suggestions, please click on that send feedback button, because we will add them here to help your everyday responsibilities, make them a lot easier and save you time. So right now we have all these different types of currencies. We have tanagrams, pattern blocks, 3D shapes, base blocks, counting rods, distribution charts, Venn diagrams, you name it, as well as some physics shapes here. So light bulb, resistor, battery. If you're looking to create parallel circuits, you can do that all. You can do all that and more. Yes, it is still free for teachers right here inside of MathSpace, right? So I'm really quickly just going to show you how to create a person driving a car, because there's still an A in STEAM for art. So if I want to create a car and show a person driving that car with physics, there's force and energy and all those different verbs that come along with force and using energy. You can type in person here. So a person pulling, pushing, jumping, lifting, swimming, exercising. I like to have a person pulling as a person that is just driving the car here. I'm going to actually change the color of the person. Make it so that it looks like they're driving the car there. Hit the insert button. Super fun. Super fast and easy to use for everyone. So that is just one way that you can use Equatio MathSpace. I apologize for it not being, or not making complete math sense there. I just wanted to show you that you can add really anything that you want into any environment using that insert MathSpace button there. If I go to try Equatio MathSpace, this is going to open up my repository. So any creation that I create using the insert MathSpace button, or if I want to create my own assignments, I can do that as well. So you can see that example that I created 4 minutes ago. But if I want to go over the DNA strands example that I created, or the area of a parallelogram example that I created, I could sit here on the Zoom call with my students and share this with them, and also use it as comprehensive analysis by clicking on that. So let me slow down a little bit here. In the top left-hand corner, you have that area of a parallelogram, so different in terms of ownership. This is not owned by an environment. This is its own math space. And to the right, there's no insert button here. This is a share button that will allow you to make a copy for each person, expect a response. You can share this seamlessly directly through Google Classroom, but if you don't use Google Classroom, you can just copy the link. I'm going to share with you all here inside a chat, but I'm also going to walk you through not necessarily solving the problem, but how it's going to look inside of MathSpace if I had to go back and assess my students' math problem there. So this is going to take a couple of seconds here. It's going to open up that area of a parallelogram. Again, let's take a look at that ownership. It's its own math space. You know that this is the student's perspective because there is only a submission button here. Okay, so I'm just going to write in here for time's sake, A equals 5 times 12. A insert math there. It's probably not right. No worries. Just hit submit there. Just to show you this workflow, it's going to give you automatic feedback, woohoo, and let you know that you've shared your math space with your teacher. If I go back to my math spaces as the educator, I'm going to click on assignments so I can see all the assignments that I've created. Thank you for participating today. It makes today's demonstration a lot better when you can see more than one name. So it gives you that real-time example. So you can see Justin Rodrigues here. I can also see that Jennifer and Nicole have their math space open. But I know that I submitted my work. If you haven't submitted your math space just yet, if you could scribble something in real quick and click on that 8-paper airplane, I can show you with our quick grader how you can create quick feedback for your students. Let's say Justin did a great job, or I wanted him to show your work next time. I'm going to say, great job. It's going to send your students immediate feedback. And now it's going to move me to the next math space so that I can grade it here. So it looks like Nicole may have hers still open. No worries, I can switch to the next one here. It'll take a second to load up. And it looks like Jennifer added that A equals 60, right? So that's perfect. That's correct. So you have that immediate feedback loop with MathSpace, and it's really just another option in terms of formative assessment, right? It's great. With MathSpace, you can either use insert MathSpace to insert any creation with that more space using any of Equatio's input methods. But if you prefer to create your own assignments and quickly grade them and save you time, you can also create your assignments and share them out with your students in a snap of a finger here. One little bite that I wanted to add in is that if you are using read and write and or PDFs, Equatio works seamlessly inside of OrbitNote here. I'm not going to walk you through how to solve any of these math problems because, as you can see, my math skills are not top tier, but I can still create and generate math in a very fast manner using Equatio.
-6 squared plus 4 times 3 squared.
I can edit with Equatio. I can add whatever I want here. And then insert that math right here inside of a PDF. Okay. So that wraps up, right? PDFs are big nowadays, so OrbitNote is a great tool to automate the process of getting images and or PDFs into a learning environment, making sure that that PDF is OCR scanned and accessible, as well as giving you the literacy support tools and features of read and write inside of a PDF, with the ability to then use Equatio inside of that PDF as well. So does anybody have any questions here before I get going? I'm going to take a look at the chat.
Justin, this is just, we need a whole day.
You need a whole day, and I didn't even talk about supports, and that's what I like to finish up here with.
Go ahead. This is such a powerful tool. Just so, I mean, it does make my math skills seem really, really bad, but I recognize enough to see how helpful this can be for students to be able to access math work and have some support with little digital manipulatives too, and be able to have math content read so they're not struggling. This is just such a powerful tool.
In a world, when we're concerned about spreading germs, I mean, base blocks and manipulatives can be easily shareable between student to student, but if you have them in a digitized version, You don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
That's true.
So you do also have a YouTube channel as well. So you can go on the TextHelp website, click on products, training. That's going to open up a number of resources. We have quick reference guides that I like to say they're kind of like a menu of our products. So they're going to tell you what the feature looks like, how it works, and then also where it works. But if you prefer to just watch a quick 1 or 2 minute video, we have these great feature demo videos that walk you through. This is a little bit longer here, but if you scroll through the options here, if you want to learn how to use prediction and the palette features, these are more 2-minute videos just to quickly show you how to use Equatio's toolbar. And it's going to alleviate the process of coaching your students up as well. If you can share this out with your students as homework and they figure out how to use Equatio, they're probably going to figure out how to use it overnight for the most part. I think it's pretty cool. But if you want to make it so that they view the video so that they know what we're talking about the next day, you also have this playlist here at your disposal.
This is great. It's great resources. I put in the chat, but what do we do before the
What did we
YouTube
do
channel?
before channels?
I think I'll be geniuses.
I know. So I'm happy that YouTube exists because I love watching videos to learn there. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and give you guys the opportunity to go ahead and ask any questions if you have any. And if not, my information is at the very bottom of that resource document that I shared with you all today, as well as if I know we talked, I mentioned Schoology, but you can use Equatio in Infinite Campus, Google Classroom, Canvas, Blackboard, you name it. And if we don't have the integration today, we have a great development team. We're a smaller company, and we can accommodate any environment that you're working with.
This is great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks who took the time to visit with us today. And I know lots of folks will be watching the recording as well, Justin. We'll be posting that to our website for our NHAT Connect project. So thank you.
No problem. If you need anything, feel free to reach out, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.